around and then turn it down a little bit so I'm not blinded by the light. Blinded by the light. Hi, how's everybody doing today? Um, I've got 2 canners full of my garden medley vegetables. It has been a 3-day process, however you pronounce it. I pronounce it differently for different ways of using my language. So I'm going to wait for everybody to come in before I say hi to everybody. But if you want me to say hi, please say hello in the chat so that you show up on my participants list. That is a list of people who are participating in the chat, and I can say hello back. You will probably get the garden medley vegetable video on Monday. And for all those who have been asking, this is how I pay the bills, okay? In the description box below this video and on almost all of my videos, I just updated all my lives that I've been doing recently. And thank you for your patience on the lives. This has been a really big project. But you will find my Patreon link and what you get if you want to join Patreon, because some people have a tendency to tip me here in YouTube. And as much as I appreciate it, I lose 30% of everything I make, YouTube takes. So if you tip me $5, right, YouTube's getting $1.50 of that. You understand? So I would prefer you get something for your money if that's how you are so inclined, right? In Patreon, you get 2 unlisted live streams a week on Mondays and Wednesdays, usually in the late afternoon, just before supper, but I leave them up afterwards so that you can watch them if you've missed them. Sometimes I will take down one of the Monday or Wednesday live streams because of, personal content or some controversial issues that we've spoke about. All right. I can't risk getting a strike on this channel. But those for the most part, Monday and Wednesdays get left up. Now on Fridays, Freaky Fridays, we call it, we turn on the disco lights and play music and basically shed any stress from the week for about an hour and a half or until we get caught for playing copywritten music. But it's also unlisted. And when I do that on Fridays, after we're done, it gets deleted because it's for the people that want to show up, right? And we talk a lot. In these, we say things, some things may be political that nobody wants to hear or that YouTube doesn't want me to talk about. So you get unlisted lives, and we have a rule, what you see there, what you hear there, let it stay there when you leave there, or you lose your membership, right? However, on Monday and Wednesdays, you get an unlisted live stream, and on Fridays, you get Freaky Fridays. Now, that's 3 unlisted live streams a week, 12 or more a month for $5 US a month, like a fancy Starbucks coffee or something. It's $7.50 Canadian. So I need to put that out there just in case you all, hear about Freaky Friday and want to know what we're talking about. There is also people, now it has been 8 years since I wrote Our Half Acre Homestead's book on dehydrating, canning, and neat to know stuff, right? Not need, but neat to know stuff. And somebody asked me recently to write a cookbook, and I said, I already have one, but then I realized it is not just a cookbook. I know this is a really long commercial, but I'm waiting for people to come in. So, and you can skip past that if you're watching the replay. It is a book on chapters like the things you need to know first, like simple bechamel sauces, simple syrups and different strengths. You've got how to render lard, how to make soap out of lard, how to make laundry soap. And then we have water bath canning section and a pressure canning section and pressure canning meat. Then we have basic bread making and cookies. And at the end, you have like spice mixes and all my favorite spice rubs and stuff. So it's really a basic homesteading. It's a small book, but it's mighty. It's a basic homesteading book for the kitchen for beginners. Let me, oh, excuse me, darn it. Okay, hang on. This is, oh, I hate it when it does this. How do I do this? I've got, hang on a second, folks. Now I have a Facebook thing blocking my view here, and I don't know how to get rid of it. Can I get rid of it that way? No. Let me see. It won't let me. Let me see if I can just get it over here somewhere. What I have, my phone has gotten stupid. I have no idea what's going on with new updates, but my phone has gotten stupid. So I can't see myself. So I'm going to be talking directly to the camera. So those are the things you, hang on a second. Nope, that didn't work either. Why won't it let me get rid of it? Oh, there it is. Got it. I figured it out. Good for me. So there's that. So there's the Patreon, there's the book, and then there's Rumble. Now, unfortunately, YouTube frowns upon people speaking their minds when it comes to political and controversial matters. So I am, and there's videos I have in the past that are no longer monetizing worthy because their policies have changed. So I am very slowly doing my more controversial posts and older videos all over, including cooking with cannabis, all over to Rumble. I have 3 channels. I have Mrs. Wolfie Let's Talk. I have Mrs. Wolfie Cooking with Cannabis, and I have Wolfie's old homesteading videos or something along those lines. All right, now that I have done that, let's pop out the participants list. Wait a minute, I got to pop this right out. And then open the participants list, and it doesn't show me anything. There it is. Hi, Seashell, Hawaii. Aloha, my darling. Cindy Metriff. I hope I said that correctly. Dana Barker. Ginger Gargle. Hi. Hi, Helen. Ida Perez. Linda Bop. Mary Cook. Monster Mama. Hi, Raph, my darling. Semwa. And Shell Bell 7D. How's everybody doing today? So I'm going to try and keep my eye on the chat while we talk. So this project, the Garden Medley, hi Jules and Lynn, this Garden Medley vegetable session this year is hopefully going to produce like 28 quarts. I'm listening to my canners right now. Because since I have broke them down and really given the nozzles and everything a sandpaper cleaning and stuff, they're rocking properly now. They're not going psh, but it's okay. They can still go psh, as long as they do it at a regular interval of like every 2 or 3 minutes, right? I slept pretty good last night, Linda. Thank you very much. My husband came to my rescue when he found a tube of Orajel cream at the bottom of his pill caddy and said, will this help? I almost kissed him. And then if that didn't make my heart flutter with love, he said, maybe we'll go up the line towards Gracefield this weekend and see if we can't get you some carrots. Be still my heart. I'm not kidding, guys. People think romance is dead. But I'll tell you what, that is those are the reasons that I fall in love with my husband over and over again on a regular basis. Oh, so we are full on prepping for winter now. Firewood's in the driveway. Hopefully, our sons are going to help Granddad stack it when they come up for Thanksgiving weekend. And this year, we're parking our mobile home in the driveway, not up on the hill. We're parking it in the driveway. We're plugged in the barn for the absolute simple reason. And we're going to keep it full of gas with stabilizer in the tank for the absolute unwarranted reason. Does anybody think that ever since the occurrences of the last 3 years, that being emergency prepared is actually become more of a commonplace, casual thinking? Yeah, okay, we got to get this done. We got to get that done. It's no more doomsday preppers. It's no more conspiracy theory. The events of the last 3 years have taught us that it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So this winter, we're keeping our motor home in the driveway with a tank full of gas and plugged into the barn to keep the batteries charged. We will keep our, because if ever there was an evacuation order, because we've seen it happen all over North America this year, we have our own built-in, bug out home. You know what I mean? It's common, really like second nature. That's right. Howie and I were watching a video on, I think it was Amazon Stars, the Stars channel, and it was called American Apocalypse. Now, this is just a movie, but it starts out with a statement saying, the world was almost brought to its knees by a worldwide pandemic. Unfortunately, that was just the beginning. And then there became a plague and all that stuff. It's just a movie. But it's kind of boring. However, did I share this with Aunt? Yes, I did. It's kind of boring. However, it's to me, a more accurate representation of what society could become like if, something wiped out 2/3 of the planet, right? It's a fairly accurate representation, and there's no zombies and all that stuff. But what it shows is that people you should cover the motorhome as the weight of the snow can wreck the roof. We know. We're going to be covering it. Trust me. We're going to Howie's going to extend strapping from the roof, I think, of the garage. And we have a new awning we were given, but doesn't fit we have to replace the whole thing. So we're going to use that awning as a cover over top, because we get leakage around the air conditioner. So, hey, Barbara M, how's it going? So it kind of gives an accurate representation of what society could be like. You have people who begin with strong moral character, and they continue to keep their strong moral character throughout the crisis and the aftermath. And then there's people with a dicey moral, not dicey, but not as strong. They've got a good moral compass, but it's not as strong as the other people's. And they'll make decisions that to save their own skin, when the chips are down. And then there's the people that have weak moral characters who just take advantage of looking after themselves in any way they can. So we were watching this. Hey, Claire, Laura's little homestead, Barbara M. Hey. So, as we watched this, it was really odd. As we watched this, I said to Howie, because it's almost hunting season, right? And I said, how's your ammo? And he goes, I could use some, right? And we talk, and then we'd be watching this. And I said, that's one thing I love about our property. It's really easily protected because our garden and everything backs onto a dead drop ravine for 15 feet. And anything else, we have a whole view of the road and coming down from the road. So, I mean, plus I have security cameras. You know what I mean? So there's these things that you think about that you wouldn't have thought about, say, 10 years ago, right? Like for the last 5 years, I've been feeling increasing urgency to overstock my pantry. I don't know if I'm going to get there. Hi, Mimi. It's nice to see you again. Hi, Waldo. And not, so that if anything happened, as we've seen in the events of the last 3 years, or things go in short supply, if I absolutely had to, I could make my pantry, I want it to the point where I could make it stretch for 2 years if we had to ration it. Oh, Howie's got a fire going outside. He's clearing the boxes and everything out of the porch and off the deck so that we can start piling wood. So you think about these things, right? You think about, okay, how strong is my moral compass, right? How strong is my moral compass? Would I stay civilized? Yeah, exactly, Jules. Hi, Freaky Geek. Would we stay the civilized people with the strong moral compass? Absolutely. Absolutely. But you're not going to get a video on how big what my pantry looks like this year. You're not. Why? Because it's not that it's not your business, but it's not anybody else's business who may be watching. You know what I mean? I remember back when we talked about, when doomsday preppers came out and they made a big joke of it. They made a big joke of people being over prepared and all that stuff. And now people are getting pamphlets from the local governments, asking them if they're prepared. Right? So these things become more commonplace. We evolve. Right? So it's a shame that these things have become commonplace. But the truth is, we should have been like this all along. Why? Because honestly, I don't know anybody should have ever started that pantry tour just to prove they walk the talk. Very risky. Well, back in those days, people started leaving comments on pantry tour videos and prepping videos. And there was a point there in Obama's time that they had it out that if you had more than 2 weeks food stockpiled in your house, more than you need for whoever you have for 2 weeks, that you could be considered a domestic terrorist. That was in Obama's time. Things have changed pretty quick, right? But I've seen, I saw some of the comments. Oh yeah, I prepped. You know how I prep? I watch all the videos and I take note of your locations and how much food you have. And if crap hits the fan, your place is the place we're going to hit. So we now become, I show you how I do stuff, but I don't show you how much I do. Just because I show you one video of me making, 20 quarts or 12 quarts of something doesn't mean I'm not still canning for the next 3 days. For instance, my canners are full. My canners are full right now of garden medley vegetables. And I appreciate your patience with all these live streams because it's been taking 3 days. I had almost a bushel and a half of tomatoes after I bought the half bushel from the market. You were right, Joe. I had almost a full bushel in my freezer. A whole bed of leeks dehydrated, because I had 2 beds, a whole bed of leeks dehydrated. 8 cups of diced frozen celery from the garden, and about 6 to 8 infant-sized zucchinis went into this garden medley vegetables. And I have my huge stock pot and my regular size stock pot, and they've been going for 3 days. They're now going into the canner, right? So just because you see how many I make today, it doesn't mean you know how much I make or how I make, in the meantime, right? So, but these jars of garden medley vegetables, which is tomatoes, zucchini, leeks. I didn't bother using onions this year because they're going to give off water. So I used dehydrated leeks to actually absorb some of the tomato water with the flavor, right? So we've got almost a bushel and a half of tomatoes, a bed of leeks, a bed of celery, and like 8 zucchinis ranging in from newborn infant size to preemie size, right? And that is chock-a-block full of nutrients. And it can start your minestrone soup. It can make goulash. It can be a spaghetti sauce starter. There's, or if if you just want something really simple, you boil some macaroni and add a jar of that to it. It's solid nutrition, right? Hey, Rose 13. It's so sad that 80% of the country's people think it's not going to happen. Look at the prices and shortages, and they're going to get worse by 100%. Well, that may or may not happen, but it would be foolish to ignore. What was that? Oh, it's Howie's working outside. It would be foolish to ignore the escalating prices. Like, we're hearing that our carbon tax is going to go up 61 cents a liter on fuel. That's home heating fuel and gasoline. We don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it would be foolish to ignore the warning signs, wouldn't it? So did we buy, usually we buy 5 cords of wood, 4 cords of wood. Last year we bought 5. This year we bought 6. Why? Because we're going to be relying on it for a lot of heating. I'm actually thinking of writing a pellet stove company and asking them to sponsor me with a pellet stove for the basement, because the basement is totally heated by baseboard heaters, right? And hey, Lacey Black, I got to go turn that down. Sorry about that. If my vigorous jiggle becomes too long of a jiggle, it's got to be turned down. So a pellet stove, would be more economical than us putting a wood stove down in the basement. I wish I could afford a cook stove. They're $5,000 just for a basic, and I just don't have it. It has to be insurable, right? But a pellet stove, and we were going to get a cook stove and put the wood stove down the basement, but there's some problems with that. Where it would go, the chimney would have to go up 2 stories to get over the roof. And that's a lot of money for chimney. And then there is how he would, I know we've been talking about it, but he would still have to clean out and cut an area behind the back door downstairs to have another wood pile, so that he wouldn't have to tote it all the way down to the basement. He'd just have to go out the basement door. There's that problem. And then there is the excess amount of firewood it would take. Whereas in a power outage, if we had a pellet stove, they take very little electricity to run that little fan. So I could plug it into one of my, it would be nice for when company came and stayed downstairs. But it would also take very little energy. I could plug in a power outage, one of those right into my all powers all powers power station, my A-free power station, my Oops power station, my Blue Eddy. Well, the Oops has gone to Arthur and Mel. And we are going to be doing an unboxing on a 600-watt small all power station, power station with a solar panel. And when we do the unboxing and show it charging up and all that stuff, I'm actually going to gift that one to my son, Briar, because he lives in an apartment in the city. And if the power goes out, and it did go out for 3 days once, he has something that he can charge his phone and stick the solar panels in his window to trickle charge during the day, right? So these are all things I think of. These are all things I think of. Arthur and Mel now have a power station, and Arthur tested the Oops 1200-watt power station, and it ran his full-size refrigerator and freezer for an entire day while their house was being rewired with updated wiring. So that's a good thing to know. And they have a fireplace, right? So there are all these things. You never stop being a parent. You never stop thinking about your kids. And especially when they're an hour to 3 hours away from you, because if anything really, if there was any kind of mass exodus or anything, we may not be able to get to our children, or our children may not be able to get to us. So we like to look after them as best we can. You know, Christmas this year is going to be gifts for Bubba and care packages for my kids with the, slippers and pajama bottoms and t-shirts. Okay. But they're going to get, each kid is going to get a crate of home canned food. Right? So that kids got their driver's license. I bought them an inverter charger for their cars. Exactly, Ginger. Exactly. I can't knit, so I bought a knitting machine. So I'm hopeful I can do it now. Oh, good. Excellent. So these are the things that have now become commonplace thinking. Like Cousin Angie, as soon as her kids were moved far away from her, she bought them a gas can full of gas with stabilizer in it and a fully functioning generator for each of them, for each of their homes when they had their own, like when they were adults and moving in. She said, there's only so much you can do. But what if they, they can always come here, but what if they can't get here, kind of thing. It did plugs too, but had to be charged before use, no solar. Well, I mean, these can be charged on our home battery, right? But you can, we've got solar panels. And the thing you need to know about these power stations is you don't want them to fall below 20% if you're planning on charging them with solar. Because you can't dead start them from a dead empty battery. That takes a plug into the wall. And if your power is going to be out more than a day, you have to think about charging those power stations, right? Hey, Willows! Sell stuff online from companies with good stuff to raise money for a wood stove. That's what I do to care for my rescues. All I do is give out my link and 25% commission from weekly sales. Well, I do that with 4 jars. I get 10% commission. You get 10% off. I get 10% commission. The link and the coupon code are in the description box below this video. And I still haven't figured out how to have an how to get my account on Amazon to show, because people say, where did you get that? Where did you get that? Where did you get that? A lot of times my kitchen gadgets and stuff come from Amazon, like apple peelers and choppers and all those things. And I give out the links, or I tell people where to go for them, but I should be an affiliate and because a lot of people are. I just haven't figured out how to set it up yet. I haven't had the time to set it up. That's something else I'm going to be working on this winter. Reading with Beverly Wolfe, folks. Little Women, we're getting ready to start Little Women. I just have to finish canning first, right? I still have to go to the farmer's market next weekend and get a bushel or 2 of new potatoes for canning. I still have to, last year I did 30 pounds of onions. This year I need to do 60. And I still have carrots to do. I'm really hoping to do 100 to 150 pounds of carrots. because I don't I don't just can, I dehydrate as well. And if ever there was a time that we had to leave or evacuate, it's easier to store jars of dehydrated ingredients in the motorhome. There goes a siren again. But here I that a lot lately. It's easier to transport dehydrated vegetables and a small freezer of meat than it is to try and take your entire pantry and freezers, right? Claire, yes, I have seen Temu, and I actually did a promo for them. However, I was supposed to do 3 or 4 of them, and I stopped after the first one because this, I think that's an ambulance. Hang on. Howie? Was that an ambulance or a fire truck? Huh? Fire truck. That's the second one in a week and a half. Everyone I missed, I'm trying to my best to take care of our new friend Mimi. That's fine, sweetheart. So if a sale goes on celery, or, if I have to, my frozen celery can very quickly be dehydrated in my, and our motorhome has a small barbecue, and we would pack our power stations, right? Because when you're driving, you could be charging them, right? Or you're charging your batteries in the motorhome while you're driving, and then when you stop and you need to run the generator, or you can plug in all your power stations and charge them up as well, right? These are things I've learned to think about without panic, without fear, just common sense, right? So I'm not almost done canning, but I've got a couple of weeks left of canning. And then I'm going to start focusing. I have someone coming to clean the house on Tuesday. I have a phone appointment with my doctor on Monday. I have someone coming to clean on Tuesday. I don't know if I've told everybody this or not. I've just gotten to the point where that if I want to continue to bring content to you folks and do live streams and across 3 channels and all this stuff, that I have to have physical help around the house. And Howie has enough to do, right? Like, he's going to be cleaning the chimney and wood stove this weekend. Yes, there's going to be a video showing, how we do it, and then how you could do it with a little more complicated of a setup, like of pipes and stuff. He's outdoors now burning cardboard and stuff that's been accumulating in the porch. He doesn't do it until I'm done with the tomatoes, because I lay all my tomatoes in the freezer in boxes, and then all the boxes get burnt. Oh, there is the timer. Wait a minute. I'll be right back, folks. Okay, our timers have gone off. I have shut off my canners. We are going to let these cool naturally. You want to let these cool so you can put your hands comfortably on the sides of the canner before attempting to open. Please do not jiggle the weight. Do not take the weight off to rapidly depressurize your canner. Do not soak them in wet towels, cover them in wet towels, anything like that. Let them cool naturally. Allowing them to cool is part of the canning process. If you depressurize these too fast, or you try and take the lid off, you run the risk of getting burned, inside the can, or they will siphon off because they weren't allowed to slowly be compressed inside the can. All right, so we'll be back when these are done. Yes, I had to work on the video. So my candles are now cooling down. I hear another siren coming. I'm wondering which direction it's coming from. I'm making breadcrumbs and cubes with old bread and the heels. Well, I just jarred up 45 pounds of flour. I got to see which direction this is going. It may be the truck coming back, but I doubt it. Sounds like a big truck. Yeah, that's the pumper or the ambulance. Okay. Well, God protect whoever they're going to save. Is easy on the front page of Amazon. Scroll to the bottom. There is a simple link to follow and sign up. Takes 5 minutes. I've tried. But something more than once, and I'm thinking I may have been there for a part of that. I save in the freezer until I have enough. Well, my two small freezers are full. One is full of flour and sausage meat. I had to take a bag of flour out and jar it all up and put it in the pantry so I could have room for my sausage meat, because my big freezer now has to be cleaned. I have a turkey that I'm going to can and another chicken I'm going to can. I'm only saving one chicken for Thanksgiving, and then we have a side of beef and a butchered pig coming. So I'm going to have hopefully a ham for Christmas, if we're even here for Christmas. We may go to Arthur and Mel's for Christmas, and if that's the case, I may take the ham, right? Mimi. Whose age? Hi, Chloe. What happened with Temu was they asked me to do 4 videos, and I agreed. And they gave me $600 in product coupons. And let me make sure this is properly plugged in. And I ordered according to 4 videos, the videos I was going to make. I was going to make a kitchen gadget video. I was going to make an outdoor decor video. I was going to make things for your dog video and things for the motorhome video, right? Unfortunately, when I ordered all the stuff, it was just hard from the get-go. When I ordered all the stuff, only 1/3 of it came. And it wasn't in the order of I ordered it, so it was a little bit from each category. And they sent me a whole bunch of stuff that I would never have ordered as, freebies. And I ended up giving them away because it's not stuff I would have ordered or used. And then, I managed to put one video together, but half of the stuff I ordered for it would never arrived. So I just told them, you know what? I'm not doing this. You guys, you wanted me to do this. You're not treating this as professionally as I expected you to. And then, my fancy new chopper, it started to fall apart. So things have said, some of the things work really well. But I'm going to say, 60 to 70% of them for me they're just not our half-acre homestead kitchen or property worthy. My little torch lights, the solar torch lights, I love them. Got them from Temu. And what I'm going to do with them is I put 4 in cans. I spray painted cans, and I put love, hope, and faith and all that stuff on the cans. And I stuck them in gravel in the jars, or in the cans. I'm going to be bringing those in, and I'm going to do 4 more. And I'm actually going to put those in my bay window so that they can charge during the day and flicker at night, right? I think these lives have more ladies than men. Hey, Dottie May, how's it going? So So a year, what? What are we talking about? Hi, Rosie. So these are things that I'm, that are coming up. What, and also, like I said, I have a lady coming to clean on Tuesday because Thanksgiving for us is next weekend. And my kids are coming home for Thanksgiving, and Bubba's coming home for Thanksgiving, and Arthur is severely gluten intolerant. So I've been canning, putting flour in jars. I have been baking. So everything my kitchen has to be decontaminated from gluten. My oven has to be clean. My fridge has to be clean. My floors, my island, everything has to be clean. One particle of gluten can send my son into what amounts to a fibro flare for up to a week. And it's in his arms and his shoulders and his neck, and his hands go numb. It's awful, right? So, thank you, Linda. I always freeze. So my little freezer had 3 45-pound bags of flour in it. And I took one out and I jarred that all up and it put it in the pantry. Now everything I've got one more baking to do before next weekend or before Tuesday of zucchini bread so that I have stuff for Howie's lunch before the cleaning lady comes so that everything can be decontaminated. I posted a message. I can't scroll up. Can you please copy and paste it and put it in again? Hi, Debbie. No, he doesn't have an EpiPen. He just suffers a lot of pain in his arms, his shoulders, his hands, and his back and neck if he gets gluten contaminated, right? No, I'm not going to do any more gluten-free recipes. You know how I cook gluten-free? I just don't add flour or bread or anything like that. So when they come for Thanksgiving, we can't even use the butterball turkey because what they inject it with has gluten in it. And so I'm going to be canning that for our use, but I'm going to be putting one of our chickens and I'm going to be stuffing it with solid sausage meat and celery and peppers and onions and stuff. No bread. And, so it's not difficult to do. I can get a graham cracker crust mix that's gluten-free from IGA for like $3. I can hopefully get a pastry kit. And if I can't, then the pies will be crust-free. I will make a crust-free pumpkin pie, and I've bought gluten-free sprouted oatmeal, and I will grind some of that up into a flour, and I will use oatmeal, and I'll make a really beautiful apple crisp, gluten-free apple crisp, and we'll have a crustless pumpkin pie. It doesn't take rocket science to, convert the meal plan for a couple of days, but it does if you've been like firing flour all over your house, all over your kitchen first, right? Then everything becomes contaminated, right? My big flour thing that sits on top of my fridge before the cleaning lady comes is going to be taped up and put in the pantry. Cleaned, taped up, and put in the pantry so that she can clean the top of the fridge and all these things, right? The thing is I've tried different flours. Hey, Creek Boy's mom. I've made a countless coconut pie, and it's still a crustless coconut pie. I'm not a fan of coconut. I'm really not. Well, I mean, there is mixed messages about Temu. Some people will do it for the free stuff, right? Some people will do it because Temu sometimes offers to pay you. But I won't, you can't pay me to give a dishonest review. So I told them that. I said, they said, well, we'll pay you. I was like, you can't pay me to be dishonest. This has been totally unprofessional, and half the products you gave me I didn't need. And the other half were missing stuff I ordered. And then half of those didn't work properly, right? Okay, Rosie, You just, keep putting one foot in front of the other, sweetheart. Mwah. So this is just, I got to get Thanksgiving over with. Then this office is getting stripped down and be turned into an office studio. It's no longer going to be a craft room. And I have more work to do in the office for live streams. I'm going to be extending my cloud cover and my twinkle light wall. So once the canning's done, once Thanksgiving is over, I'm hoping this cleaning lady's going to work out. We have not met, but she comes from a reliable source, which is my friend and neighbor Gert across the road. It's her daughter-in-law. And if she does what I need her to do, then I'm going to have her come back every 2 weeks for just a couple of hours and do like a fall cleaning and a spring cleaning every year, or a deeper cleaning if my kids are coming to visit. Either way, I need help to be able to continue to work. And that's just all there is to it. I sent you a long email. There are 3 companies I sell. I saw those. Those are the gluten-free teas and drinks and stuff like that. I haven't had a chance to really go over them, but thank you very much for that. No, don't just buy twice. Hi, Shalita. How are you, darling? Hi, Tammy Brown. Buy cheap, buy twice. That's right. Buy cheap, buy thrice. Right? So if I'm running out of half-gallon jars for flour and stuff. I have about 4 half-gallon jars left that I want to put dehydrated stuff in. Like I want a half-gallon jar of dehydrated carrots. I didn't dehydrate any beans this year. My carrots are going to get pulled up from the garden soon. The zucchini plants are going to get pulled up and tossed in the ravine. The tomato plants are going to get pulled up and tossed in the ravine. And the garden's basically going to be emptied. I have hot peppers, which I never planted, but came up with the peppers anyway, that I'm going to pickle. I have my carrots to pull. All my pole beans are going to seed, and we're leaving them until the first hard frost. And then I will hang them. I will hang them in the greenhouse until they dry and I can seed them. If I get a lot, I'll add them to my beans my dry beans, because you can eat any dry bean seeds, right? But I will save the best ones for planting next year. I think I'm from Earth. I was thinking thrice and thought of the Golden Girls show. It's not a real world. Yeah, really, eh? Hi, Lee's home. How are you? So, we've got a lot of work to do. That's why you've been getting live streams, because I can't just turn out a video every day, even if it's supper, because a lot of times right now, supper is like goulash or spaghetti or smothered pork chops or something. And you've seen me do them. And I really don't have time, because while I'm working, I am videotaping too, right? So this garden medley vegetables has been a 3-day process. So you'll be getting that video, hopefully, on Monday. And later on this afternoon, I think Howie and I are going to go for a drive up the highway and look for carrots. And then I got to start canning carrots before Tuesday. I tried to get the cleaning lady to come on Thursday, but she's fully booked. And so I have a lot to do before she comes to clean on Tuesday. I salt my runner beans and use the big sweet jars that the shops throw out. Might be an idea to save your glass jars. Well, I save my big peach jars, right? You've seen me put my leeks, my dried leeks in them. One of those jars went right into the garden medley vegetables because they're jam-packed full. They're almost a half-gallon jar, and they're jam-packed so full that if you shake it, nothing moves, right? So that's going to be for seasoning. I got 4 pounds of onions out of my garden, and so I haven't had to buy any of those right now. Hey, Tina W. Please never stop doing these live chats. Well, not everybody likes these live streams. Not everybody, some people find them boring. 60 short out of 100. What are we talking about, Freaky? Hi, Andrew. How's Yorkshire today? Your live streams have shown how hard you work. I wouldn't do a fraction of that without painting out. Oh, I paint out all right. Oh, I paint out all right. I was so happy that I found my Voltaren Amyl Gel, and Howie found me Aura Gel because I'm losing my teeth. And it's a fact of life. You know, my brother Bob and I are the youngest out of 5 kids. And he just turned 62 this past week. Oh, and if my sister Karen-in-law is watching, my sister-in-law Karen is watching, Howie's sister, happy birthday, honey. I think she's 62 or 63 today. But I forget now. Oh, yeah. So my brother Bob and I don't know, this is for the people who are new. When we were kids, we went to a school that was just 1 city block away from the waterfront of Lake Ontario. And that waterfront was an industrial district and had been for like 100 years. You know, there was a Canada Metals plant and they were melting batteries without, you know, and back in the early 70s, pollution control, before the mid 70s, pollution control wasn't a big issue. This is why I say we don't have a climate crisis. We have a pollution crisis. You look after the pollution, the climate will look after itself, not necessarily battery-operated cars, although I think they're smart for cities, but not for, you know, everybody who lives out in the country, right? Hey, Peggy Austin. So I forget what I was saying. I have about 30 pounds of flour to put in jars. Anybody know about how many quarts that will make? Well, a pint's a pound the whole world round. You might get probably 2 pounds per quart, roughly. But you'll definitely get 4 quarts. So, or 4 cups in a quart, right? But I put mine all the way to the top and then I wipe the rim and put the lid on. And always freeze your flour. The bigger the bag, the longer you got to freeze it. Okay. Who has a birthday? My sister-in-law Karen is today, and my brother Bob's was. But my brother Bob, right, was on the 24th. But my brother Bob and I were attending this public school, and we had concrete playgrounds. The only playground that was a sand pit was for the kindergartners. And there was a tannery, there was Canada Metals. And what they didn't realize was that when the industry started building up along the lake shore, you know, they were building homes, like row housing like we lived in, on top of contaminated soil for years, for decades. They had been building, they hadn't tested the soil. They were just building homes for the workers of the spreading industry. And when they finally decided, when in the early 70s, when they started going, oh, well, wait a second, we may have a problem here, they drilled down off the lakeshore towards our school and found out that there was decades worth of toxic waste in the soil. Lead and mercury and all kinds of contaminants from tanneries and stuff like that. And unfortunately, they decided that it was a good idea to, I think, now this is what I was to understand, that either the drilling, the soil testing, when they tested it, as far as I know, they started a thing to scrape off a top layer of soil where all the parks and everything's were to try and get rid of that soil. But unfortunately, it released a lot of toxins and lead and heavy metals into the air, and our school and everybody living along that area were affected. My cousin Mary Jane didn't go to our school, but she lived just off of Queen Street East for a long time too, and in that time period. And my brother Bob and I are the 2 youngest out of 5, but we are the worst in health. My brother Bob is almost completely crippled with back and leg and hip and feet issues, and heart issues. He's lost all of his teeth. He's had to have all of his teeth removed. Mary Jane's had all of her teeth removed. She's completely bedridden, right? I'm the youngest out of the three of us. And now, you know, I'm losing my teeth because the heavy, when they started doing that, they started testing how it was affecting the neighborhood and the school and everything. We all got our fingers pricked at school. And I had 10 times the acceptable amount of heavy metals in my blood. Okay. Now, when heavy metals show up in your blood, it's because you're at kind of a constant exposure. Once, like if it just happened once and stopped, it would go down into your bone marrow and cause you all kinds of problems for the rest of your life. Soft tissue damage, bone loss, all of this stuff, cartilage loss, all of these things. But for it to show up in your blood like that on a finger prick, you have to be in constant exposure to it. So I'm holding on to my teeth as best I can, but I've lost 5 molars and I now have 4 loose teeth that are being held in place by gums and nerves. The bone, you can feel the bone across the top of your gums here, but when you get to the loose teeth, the bone goes, there's like a gap there. The bone's gone, right? Control power. Whoops. Some of these comments I may not be able to read out loud. They want them not for the environment. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right? Our grid can't even support a heat wave. Right? If everybody turns their air conditioners on, the power goes out. How are they going to support cars? I don't understand that, right? Hey, Donna Stafford. Kimberly, hi. That's right. So, and then we're looking at fruits and vegetables are now being sprayed with something called a peel. And what it is they say it's made from the stuff that grows naturally on the fruit and vegetables that protects it for a certain length of time. Well, they've concentrated it and they're spraying it on the fruit. That's, as far as I am given to understand, that stuff's not good for you. So we can't even trust anything unless it says it's organic, right? The way they talk about toxins, like say this cup of tea, which is milk and Yorkshire Gold tea and well water, okay? If I had a can of Coca-Cola or a can of soda of any kind, not diet even, and the acceptable level of toxins that are in that can of soda or vegetables or whatever it is you're putting into your system, the acceptable level of toxins that is in that one container only applies, it is only as an acceptable level of toxin if everything else in your diet is organic. Think about that. Acceptable levels of toxins are made by serving, not by what everything else you eat. Right? Did you eat chocolate on yesterday's broadcast? No, I didn't. Why? So these are the things that people have to be, it's, acceptable levels. Only if that's all you have. Right? So they're now finding that in some cities, there is up to 30 different pharmaceuticals in the drinking water from people putting pills in landfills, flushing pills down toilets. There are some things they just cannot take out of the water, no matter how much they filter it. right? And then, so we all go out and we buy big bottles of water if you don't have a well like I do. And then you refill the bottles and drink that water, right? You refill the bottles with, like, there's a spring in Wakefield, right? And we have a lovely dug well, right? But even reusing the plastic bottles is not necessarily safe. Do you understand? They're only safe for 1 or 2 times use. Then you look at the recycling things on the bottom of plastics. And if you actually know what some of those symbols mean, they're not necessarily safe for food use. But yet they're giving them to you and they're giving you food in them. So these are all things that we are going to have to re-educate ourselves on if we want to continue to take back our health, take back our sovereignty when it comes to food. Do you understand? So, you know, don't be swayed by, non-GMO, right? If it's non-GMO organic sprouted grains, awesome. Like, that's the kind of oatmeal I got, right? To make my son's apple crisp thing. Donna, that's right. Meds are getting into the groundwater too, unless you live out in the middle of nowhere like me. And the only medication most people use is marijuana. So everything that goes down the sink and toilet is in the tap water plus chemicals to treat it. See, that's where it's different when you have a septic. I do not. I have stopped putting 90% of toilet paper down into the septic. I don't care if I buy Kirkland toilet paper. I don't care if it's not septic friendly. It's not going in my septic. Most of it's not going in my septic. All right. My septic has just been pumped. We've just got our firewood, right? Howie's going to be cleaning the wood stove and the chimney. He's making the barn more car friendly so we can get 2 vehicles in there and work in there all winter. We're going to, all of these things are things that we are working to get done before winter. Did who feel bad because of you? Tina Harvey. They need to go back to using glass jars like before. Well, that's true. You think about soda bottles, okay? You got acidic stuff inside plastic bottles. And the reason they went to plastic bottles is because delivery men were like my cousin Peter, who used to work for Coca-Cola. God bless his strong back, because he worked right up until he stopped working, and they didn't have the forklifts that are on the back of trucks now that deliver glass bottles like beer companies do. Right? So glass is 100% safe and recyclable. Yes, it's heavy, but all you have to do is outfit the delivery trucks with a forklift, and the weight is not the issue anymore. So they can no longer use the weight of the glass bottles on the backs of the delivery men as an excuse. I know, I don't get it either. They do away with plastic bags for groceries, plastic bread tags on your bread bags, plastic straws. But then your bread comes wrapped in plastic, your cheese comes wrapped in plastic, your meat comes wrapped in styrofoam and plastic. Even the butcher paper is lined with plastic, right? All of these things, your jar, peanut butter jars and all these things are plastic. Jugs of laundry soap, or even the little things that the pods come in. The pods themselves are dissolvable plastic. Why would you have that? Look at compressed laundry detergent that has almost no packaging, right? We were lulled into a false sense of security by the petroleum industry, who is responsible for 100% of the petroleum-based plastics that are in society today in all our grocery stores. The recycling industry was put in place by the petroleum industry so that people would feel comfortable buying plastic and not having to think about it. Oh, I'll just recycle it. But what people don't know is 75% of your plastic that you recycle ends up in a landfill. Why? Because it may not be complete. One piece in an entire load may be contaminated and they don't wash it. So that gets sent to a landfill. Or even worse, it gets sent to a country like, say, India, where they buy your garbage, your dirty recycling, and they recycle it for a profit. They clean it and recycle it for a profit. You know, we're like, oh, you know, China, when Trudeau said, I basically like China's basic dictatorship because it allowed them to turn their economy around on a dime, go greener, faster, blah, 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 blah. Bull. China is one of the leading most polluters in the world. They still have coal-fired. They still have almost all of their nuclear plants their electric plants are coal-fired. They a good portion of the lithium that is mined comes from China, and the cobalt and the nickel and the lithium mining alone for the batteries for electric cars creates the mining process for those three things creates more pollution in the output of one battery than the battery itself saves. Don't ask me where I get this. Do your research. All right? Because I did mine. All right? And when a battery catches on fire, I saw one article where an electric car battery caught on fire, and it took the fire department 4 hours and 1,600 liters of water to put it out. And yet in the 4 hours that it burned, it put more toxins and pollution into the air than my Dodge truck does in an entire year. And I have a 5.7 liter Hemi Dodge 1500 4x4. So we don't necessarily have the system to make these things viable yet. But where electric cars are good is in inner cities where pollution and exhaust is a problem. All right? In small community and islands and things like that. Those things, that they're good for that. But out here, can you imagine my Dodge truck on a battery? I'd get halfway to town and it'd need recharging, right? And to replace the battery costs almost as much as the car does. And let's put it this way. Those cars right now are worth more than my mortgage. And I'm not going to remortgage my home for an electric vehicle. If Howie has to buy another compact vehicle, and he will, but we got 2 years left owing on our truck and our car, we will probably invest in a hybrid. You know, because that makes more sense to me. You use less gas, and I'm pretty sure it charges your battery while you drive. So you're not left stuck on total electricity burnout. You know what I mean? So when I say there isn't a climate crisis, don't hate me. I'm not saying that we don't have pollution issues. But there is power in words. And when you say climate crisis rather than pollution crisis, they get to put under the umbrella of the climate crisis all of these things that sound good on paper but don't necessarily make sense in the practical world. But if you say we have a pollution crisis, see, taxing people for using fuel is stupid. Why? Because we need to use the fuel. And the big companies that are using the fuel, They don't care. All they do is they hike prices and pass it on to the consumer, like grocery store stuff that is delivered by truck. So you're penalizing and drawing money from the people than the people that need to be more pollution control friendly, like manufacturing plants and all that stuff. And all of these fires that have been happening across Canada, that happened across Canada in the late spring, early summer, whether they were, only 15% of them to 20% of them were started by lightning. The rest were carelessness or absolute arson. And the problem with the control of these fires is not that we don't have what we need to control the fires. It's because proper management of our wooded land is not done. Deadfall needs to be brought out of and disposed of, or it needs to be chipped and put back into the forest to break down. But leaving dead, dry trees, higgly-piggly, all through the woods is a really dangerous thing. Good forestry practices would drop 90% of drop 90% of the fires, make them more controllable. So it's passion to protect the planet and people from, that's right. Okay. So the whole point is, you look at, for instance, our prime minister here in Canada. Now, I have been taught you have to respect the position, not necessarily the person. And that's how I feel, because the man has made so many mistakes and he just keeps funneling money into off-country, off-continent projects to buy favor back in with the world leaders instead of looking after his own people. And what's he do? He just puts the taxes up so that it comes directly out of my pocket. You don't believe me? I just sent 12 checks to Revenue Quebec alone for $820 a month in taxes. And yet our fuel keeps going up because of more taxes. This stuff, it is time. I'm not telling people to revolt or anything else, but it is time for us to open our eyes, put on our big grown-up pants, and say, wait a second, it would make more sense if you put pollution protection guidelines in place for big corporations and big manufacturers and factories and mining operations and all that stuff. Put that stuff in place. Stop penalizing the people to pay for your schemes. Do you understand? Well, the way I look at it is, yes, Linda, I understand. The way I personally look at it is, and I'm being quite careful with the way I talk, because if you want to see how I really feel, you go over to Rumble. Okay? But I haven't put anything new out lately. But the point is a lot of governments across the world stopped realizing that they work for the people and not the other way around. Instead, we're working to fill the coffers of the government so they can spend it on any harebrained scheme they want. We're paying for it. And it is time for people to realize that if we all have just one voice together, they're terrified that people are going to wake up and realize that there's power in numbers when we all stand together and say, oh no, this is not cool. Who gave you permission to do that on my behalf? Not me, right? Anyway, I'm really, I don't know how this is going to be viewed on YouTube. We'll see. But, I cannot I can no longer not speak the truth just because it may offend some people. I'm working really hard not to offend anybody. I am talking about things I have looked up, things I have researched, but you do your own research. Call me out if you think I'm nuts. Like I had one lady say, "Well, you want to keep those chemtrails in Canada because where I live, all we have are contrails." Really? Because any videos as they have debunking chemtrails, the evidence is in the sky every day. Because when you see a plane go by and it has a little trail, the trail stays with the plane. It never gets much more than that long in the sky. But chemtrails, heavy metals and barium and all this stuff, that leaves a trail. Those leave trails that stay in the sky and dissipate. This is their way of blocking the sun or trying to reduce, global warming. Climate change has been around since the dawn of the earth. Yes, it's being rapidly intensified by pollution. But folks, let's get realistic about the pollution, not about a new harebrained scheme to put more money in the pockets of governments and companies and manufacturers and pharmaceutical industries. I'm all for everybody having jobs and good health care. I really am. But if the government maneuvered some of this radical spending around, we wouldn't have that problem, would we? Shake off. Yep, gonna scrape it off, Lacey Black. You got that. So, I mean, why is it that, people like Bill Gates own 60% of the farmland in the USA? Why is it okay for Chinese corporations to come over here and buy land? Why is that okay? It shouldn't be. So if I'm a bit on the nationalist side, or I like the idea of people's politics, or what do they call it? But politicians for the people, right? Not lining their own pockets, right? And government is kind of like a pyramid. If it's cracked at the foundation, you're not going to fix it by starting at the head, at the point. Things have to be taken right down to the foundation and reorganized and reworked. And a lot of fat has to be cut out of government. There are a lot of positions in government where people stand around with their thumb up their butt and doing nothing, but they get paid and they get pensioned, right? It is time to cut the fat, be more common sense about pollution and spending and taxes and self-reliance. Let's get back to the basics of life and realize the power that we have as a people, right? The government's supposed to speak for us, work for us, not work us to death to fill their coffers. This is Mrs. Wolfe from Our Half Acre Homestead saying, here's hoping I didn't say too much because I cannot afford a strike on this channel. If you don't see, as a matter of fact, folks, I am going to take this entire live stream. I'm going to make it unlisted. And when it's done, I'm going to download it and upload it onto Rumble under Let's Talk. Okay? Well, Rumble isn't making me any money. That's why I'm hoping many people will go over to Rumble and subscribe to my channels over there, because eventually either this platform is going to have to lighten up, or it's going to start losing all their content creators, because it's either got content creators angry at being muzzled, or It's got people working within the parameters while looking for other venues for the truth, to speak their truth, or it's got people brainwashed into their community guidelines. And because that's where, you know, we all have our reasons for remaining on YouTube, right? And it is a good platform. I've built a wonderful, we have built a wonderful community over the last 14 years. Yes, I've been on YouTube now for 14 years. So please, if you don't already, go into the description box below this video, go over, subscribe to Cooking with Cannabis if it's something you want to do, because I'm also going to be doing herbal videos and things on Rumble, because I no longer, they're starting to crack down on herbal remedies on YouTube because they're not modern medicinal practices. So is it the same channel name? No, but you will find the links to my channels in the description box below this video. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me while my canning processed. Now I got to let it cool down, and I got to start bottling up more jars. Take care. God bless. And I love you. Don't ever forget that. Love is always going to be the answer. Think about it. All right. Love is the only way we're going to get back on track. Love for each other, love for our planet, love for, you know, even if somebody's angry or hurt or dismayed and they're taking it out on you, there's a reason for that. So try and be a little kinder and try and process your reaction through love. It's taken me a lifetime to learn how to do that, and I still have my rough days. But all you need is love. John Lennon, very smart man. Take care. God bless. And remember, just because I can't see you, it doesn't mean my heart doesn't see you, because it does. Thank you, God, for that. Take care. God bless.